In this video, I'm going to explain what all the little symbols mean that show up around the lettering when you create lettering in Masterworks. So what I'm going to do is choose my regular text tool, left click, and here's what I'm talking about here. This orange square, this blue diamond, these black squares here on the edges, the black circles, this black little house looking thing, I don't know what all these buttons do. Alright, so first, the blue diamonds, what these are going to do is change the spacing between the two things on the left and right of whichever blue diamond you click on. So I'm going to left click on this blue diamond and it adjusts the spacing between the M and the Y. So left click and it gives me a little ghost image that shows me what I'm doing as I do it. So maybe I want to change the spacing between just these two words. I can do that just like that. Bring it back. So if I notice that I don't like, I don't like the kerning between two letters or whatever, however it shakes out, I want to change it. That's how you do that. That's how you would move the spacing between two individual elements. And it can be between words or letters. Any little elements I can move by doing that. Okay, so that's the blue diamonds. The yellow or orange squares will allow me to move an individual letter. It lets me select the individual letter and move it around. So if I want to, have like a crazy font or crazy lettering where it goes like this and kind of makes a little, that looks kind of festive, I guess. So that's what that'll do. Plus, what this will also let me do is change the size of an individual letter or the rotation of an individual letter. So this gets even more complicated here. I click on this, and I've got handles, two of which are round. It's hard to see on this video, I know, but these two are round and these two are square. And if you hover your mouse over them, you see they do different things. This kind of gives you like a little rotate icon when you hover over it. So what do you think that's going to do? When I left click and move, it rotates the letter. So I have one letter upside down for some reason. And both this corner and this corner do the same thing. And then this one gives me this little arrow that what that means is it's going to resize the letter when I left click and drag. So watch what I do here. I'm increasing just the size of the one letter, and then I can move that one letter back in. So that looks kind of crazy, but that's what it does. Alright, and now I have a bunch of other buttons to hit. I'm going to reset this so that it looks normal again. I'm going to go and delete this, what I have now, and just bring in a new one. So I've got my new clean lettering that hasn't been all edited up. So we're going to play with some of these other icons that we have here. Alright, so first one, in the upper left hand corner we've got this one that looks like a little house, and if I left click and drag on that, it increases the height and the width and keeps it in the same scale. So this is going to just basically make my letters bigger, and I can just keep making them bigger. Eventually it'll warn me that I've created, here we go, that I've created too large of a lettering section. Actually what it is the satin segment. The type of stitch that this is, which is a satin stitch, you can only make the width so wide of an individual stitch, and it's warning me that I've made it too big. Sometimes you can ignore this, like if you're setting the height according to the maximum height that it tells you in your little question mark thing I talked about before in the properties. But generally you want to listen to this, and if it tells you that it's too big, you should make it a little smaller, because the machine won't be able to sew out the stitches that are that wide. So there I made it just too big, so I'm going to scale it back down here. But that's what this handle does, is it increases your size and scales it so that the width and the height are kept the same. This diamond below that on the lower left hand corner, what this will do is lean my letters over so I can change the slant and make them look italic with this button. And this does the same thing as my slant angle down here in the properties menu. If you look down in the properties menu, this is changing my slant as I adjust this. So that's this diamond. All right, now we've got a blue circle up here, and look at this. It shows me that icon that means rotate again. And what's that going to do? It's going to rotate my letters. So I'm putting them on an angle. All right, so that's what that one does. And then the sideways house will stretch my letters without increasing their height. So they can get fatter that way without getting taller. It kind of gives you like a bolder look. Just makes the letters thicker. Okay, so those are the four outside symbols, and then if we look in here, we've got some symbols on the inside in the middle here. This one will bow out the top of my text, and this one below that will bow out the bottom. So I've got my warning, just tells me I made it too tall. So, okay. So that, I'd have to experiment and sew that out and see if it would actually sew out. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes when it's yelling at you about this, it really will sew out. It's kind of overcautious, that warning. But if you're not sure, you can do a test sew and sew it out on like some muslin or something and see if it's going to actually work. So that's what those buttons do. They bow it out, and then there are black squares here, 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 and here, and what they will do is adjust. So if I wanted to kind of have it make like a banner type shape, I can do that. See what I'm doing there? It's bowing out just the one side. So it kind of lets you warp the text around different ways to really customize the kind of the envelope that the letters are contained in. And that's all the symbols I can think of on here. So that's the explanation for what all these little dots do. So anytime you forget, just go watch this video and you'll relearn what all these buttons do. And eventually you can, I don't remember off the top of my head what all this stuff does all the time, but if you look at the symbol that comes up, a lot of times it'll tell you what it does. Like that's always going to mean rotate. That is pretty much always going to mean that if you click, you can move whatever it is around. And it's the same in most Windows programs. It's kind of similar icons usually mean similar things. Like that's always going to mean you resize and keep it in scale. And here again, it wants to yell at me about the size. Anyway, you get the idea. So go ahead and practice playing with your lettering handles and see what you come up with. I'll see you on the next video.